Thank you, Tony, for that. We have with us some really awesome people. We've got Owen, Chief Awesome Officer of Vodafone Ireland, I would call him, but I'll let him introduce himself. We've got Sebastian from Orange. We have Espen from Norwegian. Quick introductions.
Yeah, so actual title is IPTV Proposition Manager, not as flamboyant as what Ajay was saying.
You'll get there.
I work for Vodafone Ireland. Obviously, we're moving into the TV space, and my experience is being brought in to help with that.
Hello, Sébastien Thiebaud. I'm head of skill department within Orange Corporate. In TV direction, I'm responsible for the department that design, conceive, and integrate TV solutions for business units within Orange.
I'm Espen Erikstad. I'm Chief Operating Officer in Norwegian Media, so I'm responsible for our product development. We're working with Orange and other pay TV operators and helping them with their multi-screen TV strategies.
So OTT has been an absolute keyword for, 2 years. We were still finding out what it really means when we talk to a lot of companies. We hear a lot of similar-esque things. We hear a lot of non-similar things. Today, we're being a bit basic. We're talking about the reality of OTT, what companies like Orange and Vodafone are doing. They're leading the pack in many ways. The cloud is another big topic that a lot of people have different opinions on. We're trying to introduce that into the OTT world. We're trying to see what the big brands like Orange and Vodafone are doing to see if there's actually a visibility of what the TV in the cloud really means for companies like you with regard to UI, UX. Analytics is a big topic for everyone. So let's just start with that. We'll start with Sebastian. Sebastian, Orange TV, you've got many big countries in France, Poland. What are you guys doing with TV in general?
In general, I think that we are on board on a 5-year program that our CEO presented a few months ago. That is Essentials 2020. The main goal and our main ambition is to enhance the outstanding customer experience, relying on the fiber on FTTH that is deploying more and more all over Europe mainly, and relying also on the business convergence that we have in our countries in terms of quadruple play offers. So our main goal is to deliver all the content on all the devices with a converged UI and a converged customer experience by providing, let's say, an aggregator role, as Orange is placing himself as an aggregator of content, taking into account that we have to rely on recommendation, personalization to outstand customer experience. So that's the main ambition, to rely on this.
And what about Ireland? We know you've been doing TV a lot in Ireland. It's just to get an idea of what's going on in Ireland in general.
Yeah, so the market there is very similar to what Sebastian has outlined. We've got an incumbent who has a 4P proposition out at the moment. There's a big race for B-Sky-B, UPC, and obviously for Vodafone to get into that space. So we all own different areas. Where we currently lack in Ireland is TV. And that's an area that we really want to succeed on, being a proper premium pay TV provider.
And what is Vodafone doing to be successful in the TV space?
So at a group level, there's different opcos. There's a group initiative, which I think has been discussed about in the media at large. They're working away on some fantastic stuff. But each opco obviously has different requirements and so forth. So in Ireland, we're up against, like I mentioned, Sky, who are very good at what they do, Horizons, UPC. So we're aiming for that level in Ireland across both a fixed, converged story.
I would love to hear what you guys think about Scandinavia, but let's start with Espen as well. What's going on in Scandinavia? I hear only good things about TV and how people love having more than 5 subscriptions for every OTT service that there is.
Yeah, I think it's. I think definitely Scandinavia is. It's where it sort of. It seems to be where it's first happening in terms of these kind of services. It's a lot of competitions there. All the big players, Netflix, HBO, and we have some local pure OTT players there as well that are doing very, very well. I mean, Netflix got the 30% uptake on, I think, in both in Norway and Sweden as well. And also the operators, the distributors are coming along as well with their OTT propositions. So, and we're now starting to see that there's some consolidation happening as well. TV2 Norway, they bought C More just now for their sports right, and they're really taking on Netflix in at least in Norway in terms of the market uptake. And also there's some consolidation with these smaller players like this Headweb, I think just acquired this Film2Web, and some of the small players are getting together as well. But there are a lot of players, and also the broadcasters been very successful in these services. National broadcasters in Norway and Sweden have huge numbers, and as well as the commercial broadcasters are doing as well. So it really seems to be happening that more and more are moving over to OTT and streaming services. But yeah, there are a lot of players in there.
And all these lots of players are in OTT. They have premium TV services. They're building amazing services. Are they going to the cloud, you think?
Well, I mean, they to some extent, most of them are in the cloud already. We see that Netflix and HBO are definitely operating their stuff from the cloud. The operator themselves, they are building their own cloud to operate their services from, and they're deploying their own CDN networks. They're building their own. I mean, their data centers are turning into private clouds, and they're starting to use cloud technology. So yeah, for sure. I think that in terms of technology, the cloud is definitely happening, but not everything is going to the public cloud the way I see it. This is the opportunity for the operators as well, is to deploy their own, to use what they're good at. It's basically to manage data centers and networks and hardware. So yeah.
And as much as they manage all the data centers, the word privacy comes in every conversation I've had with Sebastian. You are very protective of the data that Orange have, and I think your job relies on it. What is Orange's, anything about privacy? I'm scared to ask you a question, but there is a question somewhere there as to Google Analytics, big data. What is Orange doing with TV and data?
Yeah, in fact, in Orange, it's in DNA of Orange, like if it's DNA of all operators to think first on the privacy of customer data. Our CEO has signed a charter in 2013 to take the engagement to protect customers from data and the privacy on that, and really to commit on the fact to be very transparent and very careful on the fact to protect the data. So to allow that and to ensure we will be able to manage data, to ensure, for example, quality of service and quality of experience, because our first strategy about big data is rather to behave on quality of service and quality of experience by crossing technical data that we have in our platforms. And then our position on privacy in the cloud is to rely on our own private cloud solution, as Espen said, and to be on a strategy that is drink your own champagne. That means that Orange is proposing some cloud infrastructure to his customer, to these business customers, and is to rely on these solutions to improve and to ensure the privacy and to ensure that everything that we will do on the data will be anonymous, to behave on QoS and QoE, and if not, to have opt-in strategy for example, personalization and recommendation, and to be very transparent, because we can see that OTT actors like Netflix are using data for recommendation, but it's very clear to the customer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the same strategy that we want to rely on the Orange side, to have big data based on QoS and QoE with our technical data, and then for recommendation, more customer-oriented big data, to be very transparent to our customers and to be clear on that.
Traditional broadcast TV, we've worked for it for many years, and everyone complain about TAM. These are there are questions about these secret boxes which we pay millions for in terms of 1 or 2 or 10 people giving us the data of who's viewing what. OTT, on the other hand, does not have the space for us to even accept such kind of numbers. We want to be clear and crystal. We just want to understand if you think that we'll ever get there with TV on the internet. Will we know all of these details? Because I assume we're on a scale from 1 to 10. I would think we're at 2 at this stage because there's a lot of data that's missing and the utilization of this data is missing. When do you think we'll get to 10 in OTT because it's possible?
I'm not sure I caught your question. But
simple question. If I were to ask you how many men watched X-Files on Friday night as against Thursday afternoon, a predictive analytical question, and you would know this because of big data, and it's all being just restricted because of predictive analytics that's not available for you and things like that because we're not using big data. The question is, when will we utilize big data for what it is for 100% without any privacy concerns? When will you make the most benefit out of it?
In fact, in terms of usage, and you are talking about usage data that we may use to use. In fact, in terms of usage data, we have already some recommendation that is pushed to the customer. So our main objective on that is to rely on the recommendation algorithm and the recommendation data that we use and to enrich that. And then to take care about that, the fact that we own this data and we won't expose it to the external. It's just to rely on that and to propose a full enhanced personalization and recommendation assets to our customers.
Okay.
So just to lean in on that one, I would agree with Sebastian. I don't think the companies we work for, we would ever be allowed to take all that data and augment it on top of, let's say, phone records and so forth. We have a very, very, very strict policy. So I think we'll have to be very, we have to guard this privacy, and it's the only way we can win customers' respect and future business with us. So I don't think we'll ever fully expose all of the potentials that we have access to. And I think that's the right thing to do.
Yeah. Is Netflix doing something different, Espen?
Well, for sure. I mean, they are, as we know, as these big internet companies like Netflix and Apple and Google and all these guys, they are data-driven companies. They make all their product development, all their decisions based on the data that they're collecting. And these are the guys you guys are competing with. So you need to think about that when you, and they have a different approach. The way I see it, I've been working with a lot of operators of deploying these services. And to me, it seems like analytics and big data is something that you sort of remember when you launch the service. Then you say, oh, we don't really know how this goes, so we need to put something in place. While you know that the big internet guys, they are starting with this. What data do we need and to decide the direction of our business and so on. So I think there's a lot of work that the operators needs to do here to make sure that you utilize the data and to build successful services. But sure, I mean, you also have the trust from your existing subscribers that you don't want to lose. So you need to keep that privacy sort of intact and keep your integrity. That's important. But keep in mind that you have the big guys out there that you're competing with that are really really driving their business from the data that they're collecting.
Data is a big unanswered question. User experience, however, a multitude of devices, your mobile phones and tablets. Where is the OTT industry in terms of what's going on?
There's a lot going on. There's if any of you have been involved in creating apps back in the day, there's a lot has changed. I think a lot of good stuff from web technologies are coming in now, HTML5. There's obviously a myriad of different screen sizes, OSs to deal with. Video is tricky on these devices. It's a very difficult thing to do. There's a lot of things going on. I think a hybrid approach, which I know companies like yourselves and some others are offering, is really a smart way to solve this problem. For me as a product guy, I want to get my service out to as many people seamlessly as possible without all that overhead of development and so on and so forth. UI side-wise, there can be some fallbacks. I think everyone has to admit that HTML5 is not some sort of silver bullet, but that mixed with some native code can create really good user experiences that are very intuitive for people to use. So I think the design and UI has moved on with touchscreens, the devices have changed, the development side has changed. So overall, we're progressing, and as a business, I think we're all learning a lot more as we go on.
And OTT is moving into your living room. the smart TVs are only being sold for a penny every day, I would think.
Yeah.
Is that changing the way UI has thought of, in the way you've been doing UI on the box rather than on a smart TV? And what's the stage like there?
Yeah, like from my experience with working with connected TVs, the devices themselves were very limited back in the day. They've improved a lot. For the end user, it's brilliant. It's all one area, right? The UI hasn't changed that much, though. They've just opened up APIs, and you can create your app and signed it, and off you go. I still don't think a lot of people have got the best user experience on that 10-foot experience yet. Obviously, your Netflixes and so forth do a very good job, but then there's other people who weigh in and aren't so good.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting space, and I think those OEMs that produce the boxes produce the TV screens are in a great, powerful place because it's all one area. And I think all of us who have set-top boxes want to get it into the TV eventually and stream those OTT, multicast, unicast, and all that.
And yourself, what's your stance on connected TVs and casting and combining your mobile devices with the large screen? How is OTT moving into the living room?
Yeah, I think that we have here a great subject with HDMI dongle on connected TVs that in the first glance we could consider that competes. But on the Orange side, we are very pragmatic and we don't think that some device will kill other. But we really think that even if we are facing some fragmentation issues on connected TV, to be honest, today with different providers, different OS, and a lot of evolutions on that, we really think that smart TV and connected TV are key on our global strategy to be able to propose some, let's say, no need to plug and play offers for our customers, just to be able to have impulsive buy-in for the customers at home without having to buy one dongle or without having to buy a STB. But it's sure that HDMI dongle, it's two assets to prepare maybe the future in terms of evolution of STB and to have something in the middle between connected TV with the assets and the difficulties that it includes and STB model that are more legacy model.
Yeah. And what do you think about the casting features? Is it improving? Do you see that makes OTT easier to use?
Yeah, for sure. Like, you look at the sales of Chromecasts and Rokus and so on and so forth, and it's very tempting for businesses like us to go and produce those sort of devices and feed into that market. I think there's different use cases for that, and there's different customers who want that. So I keep an eye on it. I'm not actively looking in there right now, but it's certainly a big area.
But we know everyone's buying a casting device. Espen, with the casting devices adding to the OTT market, there are so many devices coming up. Do we know who's using them? Are people using them, or is it just you and me?
No, it's. I mean, it seems to have at least Chromecast is a popular device for sure, and I've seen numbers from that, at least from some of the broadcasters in the Nordics, and it's definitely quite a high uptake. But also like Apple TV, these cheap form factors, like these open set-up boxes are also like very popular. That's what we see. But yeah, sure. There's a lot of devices and there's a lot of platforms, and not all of them are that successful. But these devices that offers these casting technology seems to be surpassing the connected TV and these apps for sure, and it's a better user experience. I mean, there's still some hurdles. I mean, I've been using Chromecast myself, and I'm not like super impressed. I mean, it's still a bit buggy and so on. So it can be improved, but yeah, I think it seems like they have solved some of the problems that the connected TVs are struggling with in terms of user experience.
I really hope someone from Google is here hearing that. But I have a quick question for both Owen and Sebastian. What are you not doing today, if I were to ask you? But you could.
Well, there's what I would like to do and what I am doing and so forth, and they're slightly different. I would love to be working with OEMs like the connected TV players and trying to create solutions into there. I'm not doing that. I think that's something evolve over the next few years, I think. TV moving into the or actually into the device. It's what customers would prefer. We have the technology to sort of do it, especially if you start having things like network PVR, you can have all your recordings in the cloud, things like that. But I'm not doing that at the moment. But
Espen, is anyone doing network PVR?
Yeah, I mean, there's some successful NPVR players, and at least what we see in Scandinavia, there's some of the operators offering that. In Finland, Alicia, for instance, is doing that quite successfully. You also have this Magin service, which is basically that is what they do. I don't really know how successful it is, to be honest, but at least there are people doing it. And but I guess it's a question if, you know, with all this catch-up and sort of VOD and the different models of VOD, if it's like this NPVR, if it makes that much sense, if you're talking about the traditional EPG and going backwards in EPG to watch something previously, I mean, will that have a future as such? I mean, if all the content is recorded and made available through a good discovery user interface anyway. So sure, I mean, it's when people are still used to linear TV and the classical EPG and program schedule, it makes sense and people want it. But 5 years from now, I don't know how relevant sort of this PVR concept will be at all.
And yourselves?
In terms of the question is what we are not doing, I would say nothing. But that's sure that it's part of our in our mind to think about NPVR and things like that. To us, this kind of technologies and the fact to rely on the cloud technology, it's a way to think about the simplification of STB model like we know it today, and to get rid of complicated function that we have to embed into the STB today. So clearly, to me, NPVR is a way to put the PVR, and we don't know if the PVR will be the same function seen from the customers in a couple of years compared to the catch-up or whatever. But what is sure is that cloud functions into the cloud are a way to simplify our the complexity that we have right now in the STB, and that slow us in the time to market and in the innovation.
Yeah. And I've always had this analogy where if I think France was an aquarium, orange is a blue whale. If you're such a big fish in the market, I have a big question as to what would you predict for the OTT market in the future?
What I would predict in the OTT market, I guess that what I would predict is to say that operator like Orange has a big role to play as a full aggregator. We have a lot of partners, and we think that our partners need some visibility for Orange customers. So really, to me, the idea is to find a space between OTT actors and operators like Orange to push Orange as an aggregator to have a win-win position in order to have Orange offering all the content possible to its customer with an easy way to access the content, because we all know that the main difficulty for the customers today is to find the content. It's not to know if a content exists, but is to find it, because we have a lot of actors that. So really, in 5 years, I really think that Orange has to be very tough in terms of aggregation, and then I think that we have to think all together about the way we will address the devices and the fact that they are complementary if we find a way, and if when we find a function perimeter for each of them, from smart TV to STB.
Exactly. And Espen, do you have a 5-year prediction as well?
Well, I'm
holding you to it.
Predicting the future. Well, I think if we talk about the set-top box, for instance, I mean, if we're getting our act together with this standardization that is going on with CI Plus and CI Plus 1.4 or 2, and also HBBTV, and maybe combined with sort of this casting technology, dial protocol, and all that, if we get all this technology embedded in these connected TVs, I think we don't need a set-top box, and I think you will have the technical stack to provide these solutions today without a set-top box, and I think that would be like for linear TV the way to go, and these devices obviously are hybrid and connected, so you can combine sort of the linear TV and VOD. But then another prediction I will say is regarding the future, the overall future of linear TV. I think it's. I mean, I don't know what will happen when this YouTube generation now is moving out and getting their own household. I mean, will they subscribe to a TV service at all? I think maybe this shift will maybe happen quicker than we think, and that the future of the traditional linear TV service as we see today, I think it will. I don't know. I mean, but it's a chance that it won't be around in 5-10 years.
What's going to be around in 5 years?
Yeah, it's interesting what the guys were saying. We had a chat about this out before we came on stage, and very much we all align and agree with what we were saying there, that from a content point of view, user-generated stuff is going to become more of an issue. Like, do I sign MTV or Vivo? What is best in the future? Is it the apps? I definitely believe companies like Vodafone will be in a position to become a aggregator of all these apps contents, personalize it for people, single sign-on across all of it, all your devices, all of that, in an ideal world. But there's a lot of things have to change. I think we need to get more mature on content rights. We need to be a bit more. I'm hoping different things will happen in the DRM space as well. I think that the TV industry itself needs to change to try and catch up with what the music industry has done. I think we've all heard this before and we all kind of know it. But unfortunately, there's a lot of ground to be done and a lot of long contracts that have to be finished before they can be re-signed and so forth. So I think it's a mixture of all of what the guys had said, plus I think the core business around DRM, content, all of those things, they need to mature and move on and start getting up to speed to where technology is.
With all the DRM issues that we're facing with all the different devices, you mentioned the content providers as well needs to get mature. This is a part of the monetized track, so who is making the money? Is it the content provider? Is it the service operator? Is it yourselves? Is it the technology vendors? Who's making money at all in OTT? Are you getting rich, Espen?
Well, I could definitely get richer, I would say, and I hope to do so. But no, I think it's. I mean, definitely the content owners. They're still. I mean, video content is very popular. I mean, people are watching more video and TV than ever, and I think there's a lot of good content being produced locally and globally as well. And I think the quality of the content itself is really good these days, as good as it's ever been for sure. And these guys are making money, and they will continue to do so. But I think it's interesting to see. I mean, when you look at the profits of these cloud platform providers like Amazon, for instance, I mean, the money they're making on this kind of hosting stuff in the cloud, and also the CDNs is. I mean, they are definitely living happy these days. That's for sure. And then, more further up in the technical stack, it's I guess it's more fragmented and unsure. But I think this is the picture today. It's definitely that these infrastructure provider for the pure OTT, they are making money, and the content owners and the operators can speak for themselves, I think.
Yeah, well, by moving to the cloud, we're obviously saving, so there's profits to be had there. Owning the networks is beneficial for sure. One of the things we're doing in Ireland is rolling out fiber to the home, owning our own network, so on and so forth. All of that overlays into what we're going to do with TV and so forth, and there is money to be made there. Definitely the content providers are doing just fine. And there's technology companies that have the ability to provide these services for big opcos and smaller ones and broadcasters. There's definitely a lot of opportunity out there, for sure.
Yourselves and Orange, are you rich, Sebastian?
No complaint to have. No, really, I really think that we are all on a revenue sharing model. And yes, OTT have some objective to generate their direct revenue, but I really think that as Orange generates some direct revenue by providing a VOD and by providing content and exclusive content. But really, the idea for Orange is to ensure that its TV offer is the best and is the best aggregation once again for its own customers. And I think that the money will come from there. Will come from the fact to be not only a portal for content, but an aggregator for content. Then to sell more content to the customers, then it will be profitable for the partner, the OTT, and it will be profitable for the operator. That's as simple as that, I guess.
I think a personal opinion is that the OTT world is in a very investment mode at this point in time. A lot of people are putting a lot of money and they're doing a lot of wrong things. They're doing it again, and this has been happening for many years now. We hope people align. We think that an audience needs to pay for their OTT services. First of all, consumptions need to improve, but we believe that coffee should be free. Come over to Norwegian and get yourselves a free coffee. Thanks for attending. We can also have some free questions if you'd like.